What's up, tea drinkers? Who's ready to spill? Welcome to The Tea with KG, hosted by your girl, Kaylee Grace. Here you'll find your weekly boost of real talk mixed with laughter, healing, and all of those vulnerable, messy moments in between. The Tea with KG is a safe space for you to show up exactly as you are. We are here to share real-life stories from around the globe and be a community of love, joy, and celebrating life. This is a real deal show, so there will be coarse language and sensitive topics discussed. The most beautiful stories oftentimes emerge from the darkest of places, and we're here to explore it all. There's room for everyone at this tea time, so grab your drink of choice, spark it up, or just relax and soak it up. Cheers, and let's spill. What's up, tea drinkers? We are back with another episode of The Tea with KG. I'm your host, Kaylee Grace, and this week I have another amazing guest joining me all the way from Australia this time. I've got my first Aussie on here, and Alyce and I have known each other, my God, for what, over 10 years? Like, we met so long ago.
Yep, back in Sydney, back in the
Oh my
day.
God. Yes. So when I lived in Australia, Alyce and I met through work at Surfection in Bondi Junction. It was so fun. We had the best time working
We
at that
did.
job. I loved it.
We did. It was such a young, fresh team, but we all just were like bouncy and bouncing off each other. It was so cool. Oh, brings back memories. Back at the
Right?
beach.
I always think of it like that was seriously, I think of my time in Australia was like my favorite job that I had because like we were just such a family, it felt like.
Yeah,
So I loved it.
yeah. I still follow one of the other girls, Veronica. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
the Italian, yes. I
That was
loved
just fun.
her. Oh my God,
It
it
was just
feels
fun.
like, well, it was a long time ago, but I'm like, it just so much has shifted, I feel, in both of our lives since then. It feels like a lifetime ago.
Absolutely. I don't live in Sydney anymore. I'm not with the guy I was with when I lived in Sydney, and I don't work in retail. So, 360.
Yeah. I can't wait to dive into your story and see how you got to where you are now. So, Alyce is an interior designer. She's also a restaurant manager. But before we get all the story, we'll just get the who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? Wow, what an open-ended question.
Right?
Um, I am nearly 32. I live on the Central Coast. I've lived, grown, bred, whatever you want to call it, my whole life here, really, except for the few years I was in Sydney. I've dabbled in many different areas of work, and I used to be an athlete, now not an athlete. So yeah, back on the coast and restaurant manager, as well as getting my interior design up and running. So yeah, back living with the family, which is weird when you're 32.
But you know what? Sometimes it just makes sense. You got to do what you got to do.
Gotta grind,
Right?
somehow.
Oh, I'm here for it. Whatever works is what works. And I'm so excited to learn more about what you do with your interior design because you're always creative. Like I feel like we bond over that quality as well. And I love seeing all your posts. So I can't wait to dive into that. But before any of that, let's get the story. Like let's dive into your life. I know you have such an incredible story and I want to thank you for coming on and sharing that with us. It's just I'm truly grateful and I can't wait to hear it. So let's dive in.
Oh well, it's a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago. Back in school, I was always the odd one out, always the tomboy, didn't really have any friends, girls hated me, which is standard. I never really gelled with the girls. I was always friends with the guys, and I don't know if that was jealousy that I was friends with the guys, but they always took that as a let's pick on her or leave her
Oh,
out of things. And I think from a young age that really got to me. Like
of
you
course.
don't obviously understand when you're picking on someone or when you're young or 5 or even younger and you're like teasing people, you don't actually realize the damage it can actually have on people when they're old.
Oh, yeah. It's such trauma. I can totally relate to that. Like myself and people very close to me, like bullying is not okay. And it's something
Oh,
that just gets me
so emotional because why do people want to harm others? Like I'll never understand that
I
notion.
don't
Like
get
we
it
should
either.
love each other, you know? So that's
100%.
totally
Women's world stuff.
understandable, right?
It's just
No.
the issues with my mental health started, I'm assuming, from all those underlying things. So then home wasn't great either. Like, not it wasn't like I'm a very lucky, grateful person, and I have a beautiful home, and I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had food. I've always had clothes. Parents would always try and take us places, and so like I wasn't deprived of anything as a child.
Mhm.
I think if anything, me and my mum weren't that mother daughter relationship like you always kind of want as a girl growing up.
Mhm.
You kind of want that, um, you know, togetherness with with your mum. I never really had that, and I think I don't really know the reasons behind it, but I think it was because we were just so alike and
Yeah.
clash, which I hate to admit because I look at her and I'm like, I'm not like you, but I am. I am. So then being at school, not having friends and being in that environment where I struggled at school academically. I was always the arty one or the sporty one, so I was not in class. Like starting in primary school even, like my teachers would tell me, "Oh, you're not going to be anything, if you're always out of the classroom." So like this started from a young age,
They would
this
your teachers
coming
would
from
say that to you?
teachers. Yeah, and like
That is so messed up. That's
it's
not
bad. I
okay.
got hit across the back of the head like that by the principal, like the headmaster at one. Yeah, he's like, "Where's your hat?" And I'm like, "In my bag." And he goes, "It's no good there." I went, that
Oh
was
my
kept a secret.
god.
So I don't know why, but it was like I didn't think it was an issue. And then when I told mum, it was like so long later. So yeah, that started in primary school. The teachers, being a part of that kind of
That's
neglecty kind of
horrible. I feel
feel.
like that would just be so isolating.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
year three, I was pulled out of school because the teacher told us we were going to be dumb. She
Oh
was
my
still at school
god.
for many years to come after that, and then I found out maybe 5 6 years ago, maybe longer, that she quit or she was moved on because she told a child, "Oh, what are you going to do now? Your dad's not here to protect you," and his dad had just passed away. I was like,
Oh my god.
"This
That
teacher's
is
messed up."
not yeah, no, that is not
Like,
okay.
school's supposed to be like your second home sort of thing. You're there a
Yeah.
long time. The
Yeah.
teachers are supposed to be almost like your parents. They're
Mhm.
not your parents, but that's that kind of
It should be a
relationship.
safe place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So, that started from primary school. Then I went into high
Mhm.
school and the same kind of process, bullying, not academic, always out of class. And I went to public school where my sister went because my sister is quite a smarty girl. So
Okay.
I followed to that school, and she did really well. So thought I'd do well. I was graded into the bottom class because you were graded into like where you are academically. I was
Okay.
in the bottom class, so the low class, and I was the top of the low class. So I was too smart to get help, but not smart enough to be moved out of the class because our teacher told us we were going to be dumb for the rest of our lives. Again,
That
year
just
seven
baffles
teacher,
my mind. I'm like,
year
"What?"
seven teacher turned to us and said, "You're all going to be dumb for the rest of your lives, and you're not going to be anything." I was like, so
God.
that has stuck in my head for a long time,
Of
a long
course.
time. So that happened. So then my parents were like, "She's more help." And the public school wasn't going to give it to me, so they pulled me out and put me into a private school. I was very
Mhm.
lucky, very fortunate to have parents that would work their asses off to send me to a private school. Out of all
Mhm.
children, I was the only one that stayed at a private school because they gave the option to my brother as well. Like they didn't have the money for my sister, but my brother started out at a private school and ended up not liking it, got bullied, so he went to public and didn't really need
Mhm.
the help. Whereas I got to Central Coast Grammar School and I was in year 7, and in the first week or so, my teacher picked up that I had some sort of learning difficulty. And so I went to the learning support teachers, which is a whole like section of the school that kids that need extra curriculum help and things like that would get it one-on-one
Okay.
or in a group format. I had one-on-one help from year 7 to 12 all the way through. I would
Okay.
see these teachers once a week or twice a week, depending how much I needed. But they found out that I had dyslexia. They found out that I had uh, reading and writing problems. I couldn't spell,
Yeah.
not even understand like the difference between simple words that you should learn in primary school, like there and where, and all those.
Mhm.
And I was just like, this was picked up in year 7, so you can imagine how far behind I already was
Well,
from not
yeah.
knowing basic.
Yeah.
So that then damages, your
Of
confidence and
course.
everything.
Of
Yeah.
course it would. And
So
like not
like,
knowing like all those years that you were struggling and not knowing why and then finally having those answers and be like, "Oh my god, okay, this
yeah,
this makes sense now."
was like, okay, well, I'm now in year 7 and I'm basically like at a year 5 level.
Yeah.
Well, not even year 5 level. Like, I just remember doing those tests, and it was like, if Johnny walks a K and he's walking at 5 kilometers an hour, how long is it gonna? And I was just like, I don't know how to do these. Like, I literally look at them and go, I've got no idea how to do this.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. And like year 12, I had for a HSC here, your high school certificate. I had extra time. And I was like, thanks for giving me extra time to freak out about, because like I'd have this, like, I still get it now. When I go into like a test format or I'm put on the spot, I forget everything I know,
Yeah.
like everything. Even though I know it, I'm like, yep, I know this. And say it's like hospitality, for instance.
Mhm.
Like it was a
Yeah.
hospitality test. I'd be like, I know all these, like I know what that knife is and I know
I
what this
got
is.
this.
Go
Yeah.
into the test and you're like, what? Like, and you're like, I know the answer to this question, and I literally couldn't get it out. No, so I was just not good in a test environment.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't work for me. I'd need to sit there with someone and go, okay, well, what's this? And I'd be like that, and they're like, okay, cool. So like, I need to do it that way, but obviously in the HSC, I didn't get that, and they were like, here's extra time. I'm like, extra time to know I know the answer, but can't write it down. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even though that happened, I still managed to somehow come out of the HSC with just like, I did not think I would finish the HSC. I actually wanted to leave school in year 10. That's how much I hated school.
Mhm.
I would do everything and anything not to go to school. I'd be sick. I'd physically be sick, and then mum would be like, "You're not sick," and then so it'd either be I'm faking sick or I'm actually sick or I'm just like
Yeah.
emotionally distraught that I can't go to school.
Yeah.
I hated it. And then I hated being at home as well, because it was like, mum and dad would fight, your usual parent things. You parents fight over money and, just working hours and then kids and, normal pressures,
Mhm.
normal family arguments. But like, I hate it. I'd come home and I'm like, I don't feel connected here. I don't feel connected at school. And so I would run. So that was,
Yeah. That was your time.
yeah, my escape was the track. So
Mm.
when I was a runner and training there like 5 days a week, it was like that was my escape. So when mum would turn around and be like, "You're not going to training," I'm like, "Oh fuck shit, I'm not going to training. I'm fucking going to training." She's like, "It's raining." I'm like, "I don't give a fuck. It's raining. I'm going to training." Like we train rain, hail, shine sort of thing. The only time we wouldn't train was when it was lightning.
Yeah.
So like it was like, don't take that away from me. That's my safe haven
I
sort of thing. That's
need
my
that. Yeah.
mental escape to be there.
Yeah.
And then I also found that through school, I loved singing,
Mhm.
loved it. And when I think, how old was I? Maybe year 7, I realized, like, I was like, oh, can I get lessons? And mum was like, oh, no, you can, like, get guitar lessons. I don't know how it went from singing to guitar, but anyways, I ended up starting guitar lessons with this teacher and found out she was a singing teacher as well. So I was like,
Oh,
oh, can
perfect.
both. Can do both. So I was learning guitar and singing, and then I was like, I don't want to actually do guitar. I just want to sing. So
Mhm.
it was like a roundabout way of getting
Yeah.
back to that.
I love it.
But I had singing lessons and stuff, like, absolute stage fright, can't perform in front of people. As soon as you put me in the spot, I freak out. So
Yeah.
this is a mad, vulnerable moment, me coming out doing this, but I think, it needs to be done. One,
Yeah.
for myself, and two, for everyone else that doesn't get mental health issues. And,
100%.
yeah,
That's why we share. Like that is like the
that's
goal.
why
Because
I
we,
share what I go
right?
through, because some people don't understand it, and maybe
Mm.
hearing my story, they might understand it, like my perspective of it, or even
Yes.
what I go through to understand why I am how I am, or why, I don't know. I just think that the more
100%.
people talk about it, the more educated people will be, and maybe more accepted mental
Oh,
health.
preach.
Like,
Absolutely. We tell these stories, we put the light on it because shame lives in the dark, but when you put light on it, it can come out and there's nothing to
yeah,
be ashamed of. Then when
yeah,
you find people who are open and share, it's like, oh my
mm.
gosh, okay, I relate to her or
I'm not
him or
crazy.
them. Yeah,
I
it's not just
literally
me. I'm
spoke to
not
my
alone.
psychologist in my last session, because a few weeks ago now, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I didn't want to be here. I was done. I was done. Like, in my head, I was done, and I didn't know. Like, I didn't like plan anything. I just knew that I couldn't keep doing it like this. I just was miserable. I didn't find joy in anything. I was done,
Hmm.
and I was just like, well, what do I do? Like, it's like. And that course that I went to was just amazing. Like, I don't know, it just, some inspirational person just fucking blew my mind, and I was like, okay, cool, let's keep going then.
What was
But
the course that you went to?
it was called Empire Mastery by Aaron Sensoni, who is like a
Nice.
world mastermind building empires. Basically, he's a massive business person.
Hmm.
He has multiple businesses, very successful, and he started from nothing. And I find that empowering, because a lot of us don't have that rich life, and it's only
Hmm.
something you dream of, but it is possible. But
100%.
you've got to want it. Like, the amount of stuff he would have given up, the amount of stuff he still would give up. Like, he
Yeah.
spent 4 days away from his family, over 200 people that wanted to listen to him talk business. Like,
Mm.
he's passionate about it, so it's like,
Yeah.
if you're passionate about something, just do it. And
Oh,
it's
100%. Yeah.
from where all my pain came from, with not knowing where I fit in, or not being good enough, or not being what everyone thought I should be. That still sits there, like, and
Mm.
this has come from all that shit in, teachers and friends and people that are just judgmental. Like, everyone has a different story. Like, I was sitting with
Oh,
some
yeah.
girlfriends last night, and we went from some psychopath laughing fit night to a mad D&M on depression and anxiety, and it was
Yeah.
just like, and their perspective, just sitting there, I literally just sat back and listened.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to hear their perspective on how to cope with it, and how
Oh,
they deal with it,
yeah.
and it's just, everyone is so different. Like, I
That's
didn't agree
right.
with everything they said, but that's their opinion, that's their take on it. Being someone that has gone through so much emotional baggage over the years,
Mm.
that I don't even know where half of it's come from. I'm just assuming it's come from all these bits and pieces that have puzzled up. I'm still learning. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have an idea about how to cope with things. I'm still learning. Like, half the time, like the last few weeks, I was like, I don't know how to cope. I don't know what to do. Like,
Mhm.
they say to reach out, but then when you get told by professionals that, you're not bad enough, you can't get help. You tell me to
Yeah.
speak up, you tell me to come and ask for help, but you're then turning me away and going, "Oh, go and do." It's like, the system's fucked. Mm.
It's like I feel like too, there's so many people out there that offer different services. I've had to go through my fair share of like trial and error, which is so challenging too, because sometimes,
Oh,
you bare your soul to someone and then you're like, oh God, this isn't a good fit. I have to go
yeah,
do this all over again. And
that
like
was
all those
that was one of
emotions,
my
right?
fears. That was one of my
Yeah.
fears. Like, I had so year 10 at high school, I had a girlfriend and became really close with a few different girls, and this one girl, we were so alike. We were both runners. We train, we just were like yin yang. And she noticed that I'd been negative. I was always like miserable, and she was just like, "Go and get help. You're always this. You're always that." And I didn't notice. I was like, "Am I?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine." I was like in denial. So it wasn't until it was brought to my attention that I actually got help.
Mm.
And I was with the school counselor till the end of school. And then I saw her after school up until maybe 2 years ago,
Mhm.
on and off after school. But I changed because I thought maybe new perspective, new issues in my life, new set of eyes maybe might be different. You don't want the change. You just like, "Oh, this is comfortable. I
Mhm.
don't want to go through that shit again. This person knows my history. This person knows my story. I don't want to have to repeat my story. And what if I miss something? What if,
Mhm.
and you go through all these things." So I got a new counselor and someone I see, and she's good, but I've lost that touch of giving a fuck to go.
Right.
Like after the last course that I went to, I was like, "Oh, I'm alright." And that's the pattern I fall into, is like, "Oh, I'm right, I
Right.
don't need help." But it's something that needs to be ongoing.
Yeah. Oh, for
There's this
sure.
shit that comes up all the time that you need to just be like, "Oh, I'm not coming with this," or "This happened," and they're like, and how they make you feel, or and you're like, "How did it trigger you?" Or you're like, "Was it a trigger? I don't know. It was a trigger. I just like, I don't feel great. Something's happening."
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Yes. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, yes. It's such a journey because, again, I can relate so hard to trying to find what works. And sometimes something will work for me for a bit, then I
yeah,
have to shift out of it. But what I was thinking about with your story, what I love is that with running and singing, like those two things are such healing activities. Like for
oh,
your throat chakra, singing, like you can get so much healing and emotion out. Like I love to sing too. So I'm like in my
yeah,
apartment,
yeah,
like some of my most emotional moments, I'm like
dancing.
bawling,
Yeah,
singing, like, you know what I
that
mean?
was
And
me
it just,
growing up. So as
right?
a kid, I would sit, and this was before I started singing lessons, but I would, when the family shit was happening, or I wasn't getting along at home, or I would sit in my room and put these deep songs on, like a lot of like Avril Lavigne or
Yeah.
Christina Aguilera, like all these deep songs that like one are like ballads, and like
Yeah.
I'm teaching myself to sing, but at the same time I'm like bawling my eyes out. So it was a
Yes.
very like, and I still do it. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I think
Humans
it's
do it.
good.
It's
You
like
gotta let it out. You gotta.
yeah,
I love that.
you put it on the let it out almost. It's
Yeah.
like you want it out, and I
Yeah.
think definitely a needed thing.
Oh, for sure. Like singing is healing AF.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. And running too, that's your meditative state. You're like, all right, let's go. I'm going to come into my soul, my spirit, and we're going to be together and let go of all the
yeah,
bullshit. Cause I need that too. Like exercise is so important in different ways. Like I find I pull different emotions from different movements. Like yoga, very emotional for me. Boxing, I'm like,
yeah,
let's get my rage out. Like all the
yeah,
things kind of correlate to different movements. And then dancing's like joy for me. So I
yeah,
think that's so key that you naturally pulled to those 2 things. Like, it's almost like
yeah.
your spirit just knew, "I need these things, and Imma
Yeah,
go for it."
well, it was trying to guide me without me knowing, because it
Yeah.
wasn't until, uh, 2 years ago when I had a really bad depressive episode. This is when I was with my ex-husband, and,
Okay.
I got him to drive me to the hospital, and he's like, "I didn't even fucking know why we're here." Like, he was so just, and I was like, "I don't wanna be here. I wanna kill myself." Like, that's where I was at, but his was like, "We can't fucking be at your home by yourself. You have to go to your mom. Like, you have to go and sit with your boss." At the time, so I was like a personal assistant at the time, and so I'd go and sit at her house, and she was quite spiritual and like into oils and
Yes.
meditating, and she's an intuitive. What do you call it?
Healer?
Like she can see like an intuitive.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
medium, yeah.
thank you. That's the
Yes.
word. Yes. So
I'm like, "I got you covered with the
I'm
spiritual
like, what
stuff."
is that word? Yeah, she is absolutely amazing and quite a close friend of mine, and she saved me as well. Like 2 years ago, that was deep, that was dark. I was not eating properly. Like my mum would come over, and that's when my mum and I's connection really connected. Was when I
Mm.
needed help, and she could see that I wasn't getting it. So I have another girl in my life who I've just started training back with, and she's quite spiritual as well. And it was
Mhm.
2 years ago when I realized, from all these years of psychology and everything, that I connected to my spiritual side. You don't have to be full blown hippy dippy. Like you can just be in touch with it. And it
Right.
wasn't until I tuned in just and did like little bits and pieces that I was like, holy fucking shit! Like no wonder I fucked up. Like I'm missing a whole fucking pillar in my life, man. Once I connected spiritually to myself, so
Mhm.
it was like slowing down a bit more and meditating, which is really fucking hard for me because I'm that's
I
the example.
say I have like
Like
5
I'm
million
just
thoughts all the
hyperactive.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, just like
I call it my squirrel brain. I
squirrel
get
brain.
that. It's hard to turn the brain off. It's so hard.
I'm just constant, just go, go, go. And so telling me to lay there and just, be present and breathe. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. Like laying there and I couldn't connect. And it was like,
Mm.
I slowly started to be able to like just unwind and connect. And it was
Oh yeah,
really
it's a
good.
practice. It takes
Oh,
practice for sure. Like I totally like, and it's sometimes I'll get out of it, and then I'm like, I have to come back in. But
yeah.
you know what worked for me, which it may work for you too, where you like I found yoga. I get in the craziest meditations there because I'm moving at the same time. So it's almost like my brain has to focus on two things. You know what I mean?
Yoga's hard for me too because it's really slow. And I've
Mm,
never been a slow person. Uh,
yeah,
I was like, "Oh, this is cool," but it's not my jam. So it's like
yeah,
I really should do more of it. I think I'd be more into Pilates because it's like a bit of
yeah,
flex, but like the reformer
yeah,
Pilates. So haven't tried it yet. It's just still a thought there, but I
yeah,
am
for
slowly
sure.
getting there. And the like even like the candles and the incense. I have these really cool incense. They are so amazing.
Ooh,
They're really cool. And I've noticed a change. And if I don't focus on, you know, my health, my spirituality. Like I just crumble,
oh,
and
I'm
it's so
the
fucking
same.
hard.
It's like your foundation of your house. Like if you're not nourishing your body, resting,
Yeah,
connecting, I feel you, girl. Like I
yeah.
will, it'll creep up on me sometimes too, and I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, how long was I not
Fuck,
doing this?
fuck. I have
And
to work
then
with you.
yeah,
Like, and I hate, you know, not being active, but at the same time, I'm just like, I can't do it. And they're like, what do you mean you can't? Like, just, and this is when I was really depressed. And like, just get up and go for a walk. I know what I have to do. I know what needs to be done. I want to do it, but I can't do it. It's like, it's a
hmm
want hate kind of. I need
it's
to a
like a
psychologist who
battle.
goes, you are fighting giving up. Like your body is given up and you're in a state where you aren't there, if that makes sense. Like she's like, you're and the way she explained it was so good. It was like it's like for instance, you want to fold the washing. I want to fold that blanket. I need to fold that blanket and I can't make myself do it. She's like, your body's in shutdown because it's in
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
It's in trauma and it's protecting you.
hmm
And I was just like, so I'm not crazy. And she's
No. It's like that's the freeze, like fight, flight, fawn, freeze. You're in freeze mode. Your body is like,
like,
nope,
yeah,
shutting down shop.
yeah.
It's not happening.
And
We're
people
done
don't
here
get
for
it.
now.
Don't get it. They're like, they just hear you say can't, and they're like,
No.
why can't you just do it? You're fine. And I'm like,
Oh,
my body is like not coping. So a few weeks
yeah.
ago, when I was saying to people, I can't get out of bed, I can't go for a walk. It was like, I'm not just saying this because I don't want to go and do it. I want to get better. I want to
Mhm.
move. I want to, and it's just like I couldn't make myself do it, and it was just like, why won't anyone fucking understand that I'm not
Mhm.
just making this shit up just for the sake of it? And it's like it's so frustrating
That makes
having
me
people.
upset people around you are like that because that is you have to be open and understanding to people and dig further. Like, what's going on here? Like that. If I had a girlfriend say these things to me, I'd be like, okay, like, what do you need? I'm gonna come over
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, it would just
Even then,
be
like, I'd
love.
have some people that'd be like, okay, well, I need like that gentle kind of, okay, like, well, I'm gonna go for a walk. Do you want to come? Let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
And like, kind of like gently, kind of
Be
push them.
support and love you. Yeah, yeah, for sure. You need that love and
And
support
not
and
even just like,
open
not go to
empathy.
the gym, go and work. Like, it's like, hey, let's
No.
just go for a stroll on the beach, or let's
Let's
go get a
be
coffee walk.
gentle.
Yes.
Yes, movement is medicine. It doesn't
Oh,
matter how you move. A walk is like walking is like the
yeah,
most underrated thing. I love walking. It is like my time for connection too. Like I take my dog, we go, it's
yeah.
our time. Like go and get a coffee. Like that's I love coffee. I'm like,
That,
yes, that's like
that's
spiritual in itself.
actually that's actually one of my steps. Is that in the morning I wake up, I
Hmm.
have to make the bed before I leave the house. Otherwise, I feel like
Yes.
messy. I feel like I have no structure. So like if I
Yeah,
don't make
like
the bed and
chaotic.
I'm just gonna look
Yeah.
at it, it just like it gives me anxiety almost. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Your life's messy. What is this?
Yeah,
So like
yeah. That's a great
makes sense
practice.
being in that kind of mindset to, even when I was a
Mm.
young kid, I'd make my bed and tidy my room and have a neat space because it creates less clutter. I guess
Yes.
it's a reflection of I have too much fucking clutter going on up here. I
Yeah.
don't need to
I don't need more
visually.
chaos. Oh, preach. Like my home, I have to have it because it is
Well,
chaotic.
I
When
don't.
your
I
space is
like
chaotic,
literally
it's
make
like no.
it neat because that just I can't deal with that right now. So because I moved back home with my new partner and we're living here, there's not enough storage down here, so I've just
Yeah.
got shit piled in a corner at the moment. I just every day I look at it and I'm like, fuck this shit, I can't fucking deal with it. Like
I know what you
stress.
mean. Yeah. Oh no, for
Totally.
sure. Like if I have stuff to do and like my apartment is really messy, I'm like, I have to clean this before I can actually have a settled like it
Oh,
brings me peace. I need a
I
peaceful
can't
space.
cook in a messy kitchen. I have to clean the kitchen, put the dishes away, and then start scratch. And then cook and
Yeah.
clean as I go. I can't cook
Yeah.
then clean. I has to clean as I go. So then when I sit down, I'm like, all I have to do is put this bowl in that dishwasher, or I have to wash that bowl up, and I can sit down.
Yes. Yes. I totally know what you mean.
Work smarter, not harder, people.
Oh, preach on that. I am about that life. I do the same thing.
It's interesting though, the spiritual
Mhm.
stuff, like not being into it and then touching into it. I realized that all those years that the psychologist was like, these are your pillars, like,
Yes.
and spirituality was the only one that I wasn't like touching in on. And then I started doing it and I was like, ah, yeah,
And it's
thing.
like everyone's different too. Like you can express your spirituality and your connection to self however the hell you want. And that's what I love because it's yours. It's nobody
Yeah,
else's.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
And it's like whatever we can find in life that helps us navigate the rapids and all the
Yeah,
curveballs that come our way, like if it's helping you and it's not harming people, go for it, right?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's in it. Like I started doing like I blog how I feel as well, so that like
Nice.
it's
Mm.
I find it fascinating when I read back over them, and I'm just like, God, I'm very repetitious with like the feelings that you feel and how you kind of, or how I deal with them, or how
Mhm.
I see them or interpretate them. It's just interesting that it's like kind of regular. It's
Yeah.
like the same patterns, and it's just like it's really annoying. It's really annoying.
I feel like the blogging though, it's so healthy because like I like to journal and I don't
Yeah,
think I'm just like bleh, like get it all out on the
yeah,
paper
yeah.
and it's
Oh,
so
that's exactly
therapeutic.
how I do it with
Oh,
the blog.
right? But I think that's the most perfect, beautiful way to do it because you're not filtering yourself. You're like, here it is, boom. And
Oh,
I have so much respect for that. Like you have to get that shit out. Like
mm,
we got to get it out. Like I say that sometimes. I'm like, okay, I just need to get this out of my body, and then I
yeah,
can process more. Because when
there
you're
you
too
go with it.
overstimulated, it's like that's when it starts pumping the brakes. That's when we'll go into that fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Is when
Yeah.
there's too many signals
Mm.
going off. It's like, okay,
Oh yeah,
no, nope, nope.
yep. Back out of that corner. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Take cover.
no more.
Take cover.
Yeah, legit. Oh my gosh. So what kind of guided you into your interior design? Like how did you stumble into that? Because I feel like it makes so much sense and I totally get why you do it, but I'm so curious.
So as a young girl, I was arty. I loved drawing,
Mhm.
loved craft and, just creating things and always moving my room around. I was fascinated with like space and creating space and
Yeah.
maximizing space. From a young kid, I would move my room around. I'd be like,
Yes.
nah, this is boring. I can make it better if I do this.
I
Um,
totally did the same thing as
you
a
move your
kid.
bedroom around, your mum comes in, you're like, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Oh, I'm just moving the furniture." You're like,
Yes.
how did you move that chest of drawers?" I'm like, "I fucking pushed it along the ground with my back."
I literally
You're
did
up
the
against
same
the
thing.
wall, one leg up on the wall, and you pick up the
Yes.
yeah. So I would do that as a kid. Usually when no one was there, or I just do it slowly, or I just figure
Yeah.
it out. We had carpet in our bedroom, so you could
Yes.
kind of slide things around.
Totally.
Thank God. There was always a way around it. So then, when mum and dad were like looking to move out of the house, so we still have the same house from when I was a kid, but when they were looking at their options when we were younger, we'd go house like real estate
Mhm.
looking, and I was obsessed. I was like, I'll come. Like,
Yes.
I don't know why, just obsessed with houses and like, oh, what's that? Like, really curious on other people's floor
Totally.
plans.
I get
And
that.
so we go in these houses, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, and I visualize the house. I
Mm.
memorize the house. I go home, draw the house floor plan,
Oh my god,
and
yes.
then recreate it. Obsessed. I did that
Love
many
that.
times, and I'd be like, "Hey, look, if we get this house, we can do this." They're like, "That'll cost a lot of money." I'm like, "Yeah, but look how good it looks."
Yeah. That's amazing.
Absolutely obsessed. So from a young age, I'd do that. And I remember in school, I would talk to dad all the time because my dad is a roof plumber and an electrical plumber,
Nice.
and so he was like, oh, don't do that. There's no work. It's a hard industry. Like, and so dad would be like shutting it down when I was younger. He's like, don't do it.
Mm.
Don't do a trade. And don't know why I didn't pursue it straight away. I went into cooking, so that was also
Mhm.
creative, and I wanted to be a chef
Yes.
when I left school. So
Yes.
I started off as a cook, and my first job was Hog's Breath. And I worked there. That was my first job. So from my work experience in hospitality, like because I did a Cert 3 at school,
Mhm.
which is a commercial cookery, and you had to do hours in like kitchens and things like that. So like on the job training. And from my time, I got offered a job, and I was a kitchen hand for a week, and then I moved into the pass, which is like where you control like all the salads and all the stuff but the grill.
Yeah.
And so that I worked there, and when I left, my boss cried and was like, "You're the best
Oh.
worker I've ever had. You actually care and you work." And I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, bless you, Trent. You're the best."
That's
I
so
still see him
sweet.
every now and then. He's still cooking, bless him. So I
Yeah.
moved from there to Kim's Beach Hideaway. They're private cabins. Some of them have
Yes.
pools, some of them have spas, and it's on the beach at Twin
Nice.
Bay. And I worked there in the kitchen, which was like a buffet style kitchen, but it
Mhm.
was like fancy buffet, like really fancy. And like on a Thursday, we'd have like this big boat, this wooden boat full of seafood, like mud crabs
Ooh.
and
Yum.
prawns, and you name it, they were all there. And so I was a cook there, and I went to start my apprenticeship, but then we had the first global financial crisis. So I was still working, so I didn't start my apprenticeship, and then I got tested for carpal tunnel
Mhm.
in my wrist, and I was only 16, 17 at the time,
Mhm.
so I was like, don't want to make that come on at 17. Like, I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. So I quit cooking, and I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, if I can't cook. So my auntie was a head teacher at a TAFE in Australia, and she created these online learning. Well, she assisted with the online learning portals, and she went to this course and this open day, and they were talking about this new course they were going to launch. And
Mhm.
she messaged me and says, "You need to come. You need to go to this. You'll like it." I was like, okay. So I went and did the open day, and it was advanced diploma in hospitality management. So I went from the kitchen to the whole kit and caboodle. Hence why I
Nice.
missed it. So I did that 2 years, and it also had a diploma of event management, but I got
Mhm.
offered a job in Scotland, so I didn't do the next 6 months and went to Scotland instead.
That's
Went
so
to Scotland,
cool.
worked there for 4 months in a castle, hated it.
That's oh, it sounds so cool. Like she was in a castle.
So cool. It was cool, but it wasn't cool at the same time. The way they sold it, it just was not what it was. The way
Right.
they sold it, and it was like, so I hated it. As soon as we landed, so Mum flew over with me. As soon as we landed, I looked at her and I said, "What the fuck am I doing?" She goes, "You work in Scotland." I said, "I don't want to do this. What am I doing?" And so we travelled around Scotland for a week before I started. And she goes, "All right, well, don't. We'll travel around and we'll go back home." And I said, "I can't come like and not even try it. What if I like it? Like I can't just
Right.
come here and say I don't want to do this. I haven't even tried it yet. What if I like it?"
Mhm.
She's like, "All right." So I tried it, hated it, flew home, and I was
At
so
least you tried though.
emotionally unstable as well. I thought I was fine prior to leaving. I got over there and hit rock bottom, and I was just like, and they're like, "Why are you staying?" And I'm like, "Well, to prove to everyone I can do it." They're like,
Mm.
"Why are you proving to everyone else that you can do it? Like, who are you trying to prove yourself to?" And I'm like, "Everyone." They're like,
Mhm.
"Well, no." Like, I've always been like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel like nothing I do is good enough, and so I'm always trying to please everyone else instead of
Mhm.
myself. And anyways, I flew home and I was still working in hospitality for a bit. Then I met my partner, moved to Sydney. That's when I was in Suffection. I met
Yes,
Kaylee.
it was
Love
so
it.
fun.
And so working in retail for a bit, I left retail and went into nannying. I was like, "Oh, that looks pretty cool," because we used to serve that many mums that had come in with the prams, and you're like, "Oh, how is your baby?"
Yes.
"Oh, I'm not the mum, I'm the nanny," which is literally what I thought. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Like, it's very flexible. And I moved from the Bondi Junction store. I actually moved down to the beach store and was assistant manager down there. And I'd served like heaps of interior designers. I'd served like PTs, and I was just like, the nanny brought up wanting to do the design again, and I was like,
Yeah.
brought up design when I was working retail because I actually left Affection and went and worked for West Elm. And I was like, that was more, it was retail, but it was like furniture, homewares, retail. So,
Yeah.
and I was like, I knew I always had a creative flair. Like, I like layouts and like
Mhm.
um, doing visual merchandising and things like that. So I was like, I still was kind of touching on it, but I wasn't like deep diving into it. So I was like, when I left Williams Sonoma, and I then went into nannying, and the people that I worked for were like wealthy, obviously, to have a nanny, and it makes you like really look into design, like the design, and
Mhm.
so I was like, I can do this and study. So
Yeah.
I found a course that I could do at night. So I was working during the day and then doing study at night. Then me and my ex split, so I moved home and was traveling down to finish the course because it went for 2 years. Diploma in interior design and decoration, and so I completed that and then opened my own business.
Yeah.
I wanted to work for someone, but it's the hardest fucking industry to get into
Mm.
that I've ever worked in. Like, it's so cutthroat, and it's like unless you like know someone or you're in with someone, it's literally a
Right.
that kind of clicky environment,
Yeah.
and it's all in Sydney. So like
Right.
I'd have to move to Sydney. I kind of just started doing my own stuff,
Mhm.
and I do it on the side. It's like because it's so hard. Like you don't really have the clients up here or interior design as such. So
Right.
like my clients that I've had are more decoration kind of restyle vibes.
Yeah,
I've
that's cool.
had yeah, which is really cool, and I love helping people create a space that they love. They feel
Yes.
comfortable in, like, you want home is supposed to be your sanctuary, so, you want it to feel
Yes.
comfortable, you wanna love where you are. And then with my ex-husband, we opened a business together, so he was a project manager consultant, in earth
Mhm.
moving and things, and we had a business together. And I did heaps of like home organizing. Oh my god, I'm creating new words. Household management, personal assistant, virtual, styling. I did kind of like everything. I do like cooking,
Yeah.
and I would do that through our business. It is part of my past, and it is part of what has made me. So I'm
Mhm.
grateful for that, even though it didn't work, and it has taught me things that I needed to know, about
Yeah.
myself, and not diving into shit without knowing or being ready, or thinking you're ready, or thinking you want
Mhm.
something and deep down you probably should wait. But it's part of my past.
Yeah, that's
It
how we
has molded
learn,
me, and I'm happy
right?
he's happy.
Oh, for
Um,
sure. It's a journey, girl. Oh my
it's
gosh.
such a journey. I think I've gone great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think, doing that, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of builders and things like that from the industry that he was in. So I pulled away from our business a bit and still had my own brand, but
Mhm.
wasn't pushing it. I really didn't know how to push it. I still couldn't get a grasp on the vision that I had and how to make it reality. And that's
Right.
when going to this course has really gone right. And
Yes.
now I've got these like ideas and things going in my head of how to like. That's why I'm launching my personal brand, Alyce Kate Donoghue. Um,
Yay.
Hopefully this week. So after we get off
Woo!
this thing, so hopefully I can finish the website so I can launch that and then put my blogs
Yeah.
on there. And it's just a platform basically for people to understand me and my who I am as a person, as a brand, and
Mm.
as what I do, what I can do. It's more of a platform like that, to
Yes.
then leverage from that to my business of Studio AKD.
Preach,
Um,
girl. I love
yeah,
that.
so that's all happening.
That's so
Obviously,
exciting.
it's in the background. Like I love. I'm a people person, for God's sakes. Like,
Oh, for sure. Yes.
um, as much as I've tried to hide from customer service, you need it for every job you do. You need customer service. Doesn't matter if you're an
Oh,
accountant or whatever.
100%. I've done so much customer service, and you know what? Those skills I use every day, every day, because being good
Every
with
day.
people is never going to be bad, you know?
No,
And like, again, that's how we can spread our light to others just by being friendly and being kind. Like,
nope.
it's so easy to make someone's day and to be good to people. Like that, I think that's why we loved when we worked together because we both had that mindset. We were like, it's not
When
hard
you
to
used to sell
connect.
bikinis like there was no fucking tomorrow, mate. You
I was your bikini queen,
every
yes.
biggest seller. KPIs were through the roof. I was like, girl,
I didn't even realize at
like
first,
my
and I
sales are
remember
shit.
the first meeting they said that, I was like, "What?" Cause I was just being myself. I was like, "I'm just talking to people. I don't know."
It was after like you left. That was when retail went shit, when online came real big.
Yes. Mhm.
I still remember like the difference in when we were there, when we started, to a year later was massive.
Wow.
Massive. Like the impact that online had was huge.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like
for
yeah, so
sure.
the interior design, getting off track, is still happening. I
Mhm.
am wanting to dive into some more training because you can never be educated enough.
Oh, for sure.
So I want to do a building design course and a drafting course, because the course that I did didn't teach, like it taught us CAD, but CAD is it was very basic CAD, so
Right.
computer aided drafting, and I can draw hand by hand, but everything's on computers these days.
I
So
know.
I want to learn a more current platform. And I think it's SketchUp that I'll learn. I haven't 100% decided yet because everywhere is different. So I guess just
Yeah.
using one that works for me
Mhm.
is going to be the best option. So that is on the horizon eventually, but um,
Nice.
also hopefully more of these Empire Mastery courses. I want to
Oh,
sign up
yeah.
for stuff. That was really motivating. It was really enlightening and just mind fucking blowing. Like
I love that.
how much information I learned and can apply to, and anyone can do it. It's
Oh,
just the
for
drive.
sure.
Like I want to keep going and seeing him just so I have that drive because it was
Oh,
so motivating.
yeah.
In my back pocket, please. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
it's so true. So many different speakers that I've watched that I'm just like, it literally lights me up. I'm like, yes, like after I watch, it's so inspiring. And it's so nice to be surrounded by that and to be able to lean on that. Cause like it just keeps you going, especially when you have an entrepreneurial spirit. You need to be
Yep.
able to keep going because it's all you, like it's
Yep.
you doing it.
That's
And,
it.
I can relate to that so hard. Like,
Yeah.
you need to have that support in whatever way it looks so you can be like, all right, got this. But I'm so excited about your website you're launching. Like, I live for getting to know people and like their stories. That's what makes me fall in love with people. Cause I'm like, let me get into those layers. Like, what's in there? And it's,
Layers.
it's true. I love understanding people because I get why people are the way they are when I hear their stories. And I'm like, it's beautiful to me. I'm like, let me in there.
So from like with the learning of people and the layers of things, like I was terrified of people,
Mm,
terrified of talking to people. I was so shy, but also very not shy, if that makes sense. I'd hide in the kitchen. I thought, oh, I'm creative. I can create like I can be a dessert chef or sous chef,
yeah.
whatever. And I was like, oh, I can do that. And then when I did that, hospitality course is what brought out my, hey, you're a people person.
Yes.
Very lucky. It's amazing the education that you do that changes that. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
never used to be like that. I was terrified. I remember one
Right.
hostel shifts, the manager came up to me on the floor and said, "Hey, we're short on the floor. I need you out on the floor." I stood there and cried,
Oh, no.
bawled my eyes out, terrified. I was like, I can't do that. Like
Mhm.
terrified. He's like,
Mhm.
"Well, go back in the kitchen." And I was like, "Okay,
Goodbye.
I don't care."
No, it's so true. Like, I love that
Yeah,
too when we as humans like step out of our comfort zones and open. Like, that's it again. Like we were saying, if you're open, it
yeah.
can change your world. Like, and you can unlock things that you didn't even know you had. And it's just, I live for that because we're
And
all so
it's
multifaceted. It's
yeah.
beautiful.
And from all the learnings that I like, all the managers and things I've had, that's what shaped me to be the manager that I am for people. Like,
Mm,
I wanted to be there for people and understand where they're at because how are you going to provide to the customers with me down your neck if I don't know how you're feeling? Like, what are your
yes.
capabilities today? Are you okay? What do you need? How can I help you? I'm also their team player and I'm like their coach and I'm
Hmm.
their biggest fan. I'm like, you got this. Like, come on, what do
Yes.
you need? How can I help you? What do you need? Like,
Yeah.
you're running the plays. How can I make you succeed? Like, that's like always been my aim. We're like one big happy family at work, and like if there's ever any issues, I'd hope that they know that they can come and talk to me. Like I love being that leader and that help to assist grow this business, but at the same time to look after myself I am doing my stuff as well because
Yes.
that deep down, that's my passion. I
Yeah.
still love my people. Like deep down, obviously, I'm a people person, and I love that as well.
Hmm.
If I'm doing both, like if I'm doing that to the best of my ability and I'm getting results, then sweet. Why can't I do that too?
Oh,
So
for sure. And you have to
yes,
fill your cup. Like you can't, that saying, you
yeah,
can't pour from an empty cup. It's so true.
that's it.
And I can relate to
100%.
that. Like I'm definitely a recovering people pleaser. And,
Yeah,
it's challenging sometimes when you're used to thinking of everyone but yourself. But it
100%.
it's those practices. It's like singing, running, whatever it is that fills your soul. Just take
Yeah,
those little beautiful moments for you. And like that's at least being like, okay, these are my minutes, my mindful moments,
yeah,
and then you can keep on going.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I love
100%.
that. I feel like we could talk forever. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta get your final words of wisdom. I'm just like, what else can we chat about? Let's go.
I know, right? Well, everyone has a story.
Yes.
Everyone has their struggles. Everyone has their background, whether you're rich or you're poor or you're, you know, in an abusive relationship, not in an abusive relationship, you're like anyone everywhere. Like, it doesn't matter what you're going through, everyone has a story. No one's fucking perfect, and people need to lay off people with expectations. I just think everyone needs to be kind because you don't know what someone else is going through
Nope,
on
it's
their
so
day.
true. And like I was
It's
thinking of
like,
this earlier when you talked about judgment. I've
yeah,
always said this. I'm like, I just want to hold a mirror up because I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe you're not relating to this,
yeah,
but you could definitely relate to something. Like you are not
yeah,
perfect. We've all made
yeah,
mistakes. Every single human has done something where they're probably like, ugh. But it
yeah.
happens. It's how we learn. So we have to stop putting all of those projections on other
100%.
people because
And
it's
media's
not.
the worst for it. Media is the
Yeah.
worst. 100%. They
Yeah.
feed you what they want you to hear and what they
Oh
want you to
yes.
say and what
Oh
they
yeah.
want you to do.
For sure.
Like, let everyone be their individual motherfucking selves.
Yes, I am here for that. I love that. And we're all so beautiful. We're all unique. We all have something to offer, a
Everyone.
story to share, some part of us. And like, I just also want to thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing with us today because that's how we shift the world. That's how we put that energy out there. And I know there's people listening who can resonate and relate. And I just really appreciate you coming on with
You're
me
so
today.
welcome. It's so good to see you. Not so
Yes.
long next time,
Oh
please.
my gosh, I know. What I want to do as well is like let's plug in your social media. And when your website's live, by all means share and I'll share away. But
Yep,
let's get your social so if people want to connect with you.
yep.
We'll link them all here.
Amazing. So it's just Instagram is Alyce Kate Donoghue, so my full name.
Hmm.
And then my which will be my website as well. It'll just be www.alycecatedonoghue.com.au. And then on my Instagram social there is my business one, which is studio_akd. And then that'll be the same for that website, www.studiokd.com.au.
Awesome. Yay. That is
Yes,
perfect.
so
So, for
excited.
everyone watching on YouTube, I'm going to have all of this in the description box below. If you're listening via podcast, it'll be in the show notes. So, there'll be no problem finding Alyce if you'd like to
Or you can
connect
just
with
come and visit
her.
me at the restaurant.
There you
Come and
go.
eat some food. Motel Mezza at Wyong. Hit me up.
I'm like, okay, where's my plane ticket? Let me just get home.
Come back and
Oh
see
my
me,
gosh.
bitch.
I would friggin' like that. Australia to me, I feel like I'll get very emotional going back there because it was such an impactful 2 years for me. Like, and
Yeah.
it's so wild. Like the people I know I'm supposed to meet all of you for a reason. Because look, here we are
Yeah.
now. Amazing. I live for it. And this is why it's awesome when you connect with people and just beautiful souls all over the world. Because then you can reconnect and have a podcast episode.
Totally. And have tea.
Yes. Gotta love the tea.
Just got home.
Yes. Well,
Really.
that is our tea time for today, everyone. I want to thank all of you listeners, viewers for tuning in. This podcast would not be what it is without each and every one of you. So I really appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share. If you're listening, give us a 5-star rating. I love to hear your feedback. And we will see you next time.